Welcome to the Explainer. Have you ever had this totally brilliant idea, but when you actually pitched it, people's eyes just totally glazed over? Yeah, it happens to literally the best of us. But recently, I stumbled across a really fascinating way to fix this. It's this powerful tool called the DMRVP framework, and honestly, it has completely changed how I look at turning complex ideas into absolutely undeniable business cases. So let's just dig right into how it works.
But hey, before we get into the nuts and bolts, let's ground this in something we've probably all experienced. Think back to when ChatGPT first dropped. How did you use it that very first time? If you're like most of us, you probably treated it like, well, a regular search engine, right? You typed in a few short questions, and you were probably a little frustrated when the answers felt kind of off. The tool was profoundly new, and honestly, no one had really given us a mental framework for how to think about it yet. And the really interesting thing here is that contrast. People failing to grasp a new tool, that isn't a technology problem. The tech worked perfectly fine. It's an explanation problem. When something is genuinely totally new, people can't just figure it out on their own. Their past experiences don't apply. Common sense doesn't really help. Without a crystal clear explanation, the new thing simply doesn't exist for them in any kind of useful way.
So here is our roadmap for today's explainer. Number 1, we'll unpack the explanation problem. 2, we'll meet the DMRVP framework itself. 3, we'll break down the 5 components. 4, we're going to look at DMRVP in action. And finally, 5, we'll apply this directly to your next big pitch. Let's get to it.
Section 1. The explanation problem. Navigating the unknown.
Look, as the pace of change just keeps accelerating, helping other people navigate the unknown is literally your most vital skill. It determines how fast your team learns, how quickly your organization adapts, and frankly, how much credibility you build as a leader. Because without a clear explanation, a new thing just does not exist for people in any useful way. When you introduce a new strategy or a completely new tool without providing that clear framework, you're leaving a massive gap. And guess what? People always fill those gaps with assumptions. And those assumptions, they are almost always wrong. That is exactly the kind of thing that leads to confusion, pushback, and ultimately nothing getting done.
Section 2. Meet the DMRVP framework. Your blueprint for clarity. All right, so what is DMRVP? It's a framework developed by Toby Hecht. Basically, it's a structured method designed to give people the exact context they need before they can make sense of anything new. It's built on this beautifully simple insight. Before something new becomes real to us, we need answers to 6 fundamental questions: who, what, where, when, why, and how. DMRV answers all of them, and crucially, it answers them in the exact right order to actually create shared understanding.
Now, you might be wondering, okay, why should I care? Well, this isn't just about sounding smart in a meeting. It's a massive career accelerator. Using DMRVP builds instant credibility with the executive committee. Why? Because you stop sounding like a technical order taker and you start speaking like a strategic business communicator. It leads to faster decisions with way less friction. You get higher project approval rates because you're stripping away the confusion that usually kills deals. It reduces pushback, cuts down on rework, boosts your influence, and best of all, it's a highly repeatable skill. You can literally use it for every single initiative going forward.
Section 3. The 5 components explained. Building the case.
Okay, so here is the step-by-step staircase we are going to climb. Description, meaning, relevance, value, and purpose. And a quick warning here, skipping even one of these can totally derail your pitch. So let's walk through exactly what each of these pillars actually means.
Step 1 is description. This answers the really basic question. What is this, and what does it look like in the real world? A solid description settles the listener's mind by covering 4 bases. First, sensory. What does it actually look or feel like to use? Second, psychological. Does it feel fast, simple, complex? Third, operational. What does it actually do step by step? And fourth, contextual. Where does this fit into our broader environment? The goal here is simple. By the end of the description phase, your audience should have a solid mental model. They know what to look for, and they're no longer staring at something completely unfamiliar.
Moving on to step 2, meaning. Once they know what it is, they really need to know what it does. Meaning establishes cause and effect. So if the new thing is an action, what situation does it produce? Or if it's a new capability, what new actions does it make possible? Essentially, you're answering what specific concern does this actually take care of? When people finally grasp the meaning, they understand why the thing matters on a purely functional level. All right, step 3 is relevance. And please pay super close attention here because this is exactly where most pitches fall flat. Something can be very meaningful in a general sense, but still be completely meaningless to the actual person you are talking to. Relevance closes that gap. It connects your explanation directly to the specific goals, concerns, and responsibilities of your listener. When you nail the relevance step, the listener stops looking at your idea as someone else's problem, and suddenly they see it as their very own personal opportunity.
Next up is step 4, value. This answers the million-dollar question, is this worth it? This is where you make that undeniable business case. Value focuses on importance, utility, and most critically, ROI, or return on investment. You've got to give your executives the hard numbers they need to justify taking action. What exactly are they getting back relative to what they're putting in?
And the final component, step 5, is purpose. Think of purpose as your anchor. It answers, how does this help us get to where we are ultimately trying to go? You want to connect your idea to broader objectives at 3 different levels. First, the tactical, immediate work. Next, the strategic, organizational initiatives. And finally, the ultimate mission and values of the company. Purpose gives your listener a genuine reason to care deeply by tying the immediate task directly to the long-term direction of the organization.
Section 4, DMRVP in action, the AI customer service pitch.
Let's put this into practice. Imagine an IT director pitching a brand new AI-powered customer service routing system to a skeptical C-suite. Without DMRVP, this probably just sounds like another expensive, complicated IT project. Let's see how DMRVP turns it into a strategic business decision. They start with description. This is an AI system that runs entirely in the background of our current platform. When a customer submits a ticket, the system reads it and routes it automatically. Your agents interact with the exact same tools they use today. The only difference is that the sorting and routing happen instantly instead of manually. See how brilliant that is? It gives executives a crystal clear, totally non-threatening picture. No crazy jargon, just a settled mental model of what the tool actually is.
Then, they pivot right into meaning. The director says, right now, our agents spend the first few minutes of every single ticket just figuring out who should handle it. That manual step slows everything down, and it introduces errors. This system eliminates that manual step, and that means faster response times and fewer escalations. You see that clear cause and effect? The action is removing a manual step. The result is speed and accuracy. Simple.
Now here is where it gets incredibly powerful. For the relevance step, the director literally looks around the room and speaks to each leader directly. They tell the chief operating officer that this affects service team throughput. They turn to the chief marketing officer and say it improves CSAT and retention data. They look right at the chief financial officer and explain how it drastically reduces the cost per ticket. And they show the chief product officer how it expands self-service. The director isn't asking them to care about the technology at all. They are brilliantly speaking to the exact unique concerns of every single executive sitting at that table. Next is value. And for this, the director brings the hard math. They reveal that automating their 12,000 monthly tickets frees up exactly 800 hours a month. To put that into perspective, at their current costs, the projected savings in year 1 completely cover the initial implementation investment. That number, 800 hours, proves without a doubt that the idea is worth the time and money. They're not just asking for a budget anymore. They are practically guaranteeing a return on investment. Finally, the director closes the pitch with purpose. They say, this is one of the first practical steps we can take toward the operational efficiency goal outlined in our 3-year plan. Boom. They just tied their software pitch directly to a massive, long-term strategic goal that the executives already own and care about. Suddenly, the project is no longer just a good idea. It's the absolute right next step for the company's growth strategy.
Section 5. Your next big pitch, producing shared understanding. All too often, we present new ideas by just leading with a solution. We do an information dump, which honestly just leaves executives cautious and skeptical because they don't have a solid framework to process all that data. But DMRV flips the script entirely. You lead with a mental model. You stop just presenting information and you start producing a shared understanding. By the time you finally ask for a decision, your audience already has absolutely everything they need to confidently say yes.
So, I want to leave you with a bit of a challenge. Think of a new project, maybe a new idea or an initiative that you are pitching right now. Take a hard, honest look at it. Which parts of DMRVP have you left out? Did you maybe skip the relevance to the specific listener? Are you maybe lacking the hard numbers for value? Find your gaps, fill them in, and just watch how it completely transforms your next high-stakes conversation. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I absolutely cannot wait to see how you put this framework to work.